Welcome back to another PT Pearl. I'm Doc Jen.
And I'm Dr. Dom.
And we are coming at you today talking about getting up in the morning and actually feeling refreshed. Yes, we have our cups of coffee with us, but we're going to talk you through your body positions, mattresses, pillows, neck pain, back pain, different things that you can do to actually wake up feeling your best. First of all, we're cheersing with our strong coffee. Cheers.
Cheers.
But we are going into waking up in the morning. So this is why we have our strong coffee in our hands, because, you know, a lot of people complain of stiff neck, back pains, different things happening within the body. And we want to teach you some of the tools and techniques that we have learned throughout the years, through PT school and beyond, working with clients, and just how you can wake up actually feeling good within your body, not run down, not achy, not stiff, not painful, and what you can do about it.
I was going to say, working, you're doing different things and you can at least be moving, but if we're sitting in one position while we're sleeping, then we're there for a long time and our body adapts to that. So finding a way to slightly better position yourself can go a long way in helping how you feel when you get up in the morning. And then you can start it off with something also amazing, like strong coffee. So I'm going to drop a little bit what strong coffee is. It's more of this like latte powder mix, a coffee latte mix that has collagen and neural factor and other things like L-theanine in it that are just really good enhancers for our mind and get us really focused and sharp in the morning. And the collagen's great for a lot of building processes in our body, of course, and collagen's really hot these days. But I know that at Strong Coffee, they only use grass-finished beef, which is really important, that they're using only the highest quality stuff there. And it's just nummy.
It's so nummy. And I don't think that people realize that grass-fed, though better, you only need to have the cow eating grass for 70% of its life, rather than grass-finished means that it's 100% of its life not eating all the other crap. So that's the difference there.
Yeah, I mean, I loved when I was talking with Adam about it and just kind of asking him some of these questions because he's so transparent and he's just so open about all the work he's done to know what's going into this thing. And he said in America, anyway, we always try to, and in the world, in a lot of places, we try to make our coffee our breakfast. And that's all a lot of people just grab going out the door. So he's like,
that's what I do.
Right? And how can, for the people that don't want to be, you know, intermittent fasting or doing that kind of thing in the morning, how can we actually make coffee a good satiating breakfast? And so he's like, what can I do to make my cup of coffee equal to a cup of coffee and 2 eggs? Yeah. So it has the amount of protein and nutrients that you'd get with 2 eggs, which are really, really nutrient dense, in one little cup of coffee that you can make in 5 minutes.
Honestly, we talk about it because we drink it. I think we have the packaging right here too. So one of these, This is Morning Fix strong coffee, and these are actually mugs from Strong Coffee as well.
Sweet.
I didn't really show you the other side. Ooh, that's cool. Vulgar.
Sweet and creamy with a hint of vanilla.
Yeah, I think we have a discount code as well.
We have a discount code Optimal15.
Optimal15, super easy to remember. So anyways, go try it out, grab it if you're open to that kind of thing. It's really delicious, and I'm going to keep drinking this the entire time that we talk about waking up feeling refreshed. Yeah,
so where do you want to start? I mean, there's a lot of different positions we sleep in, and so we're going to cover some of the basics. And why don't we just start with a pillow and sleeping on our back? Because a lot of people will say, oh, I can't sleep on my back. So if you're in that boat, then we need to approach things a little differently. But back sleeping, the one thing that we see the most is having a pillow that's either way too large or way too small for you and what you need.
Yeah.
And how can you tell that?
So here's the thing. A lot of times, too, people think they have to sleep on the back. Well, I've been told that is the way to sleep. That's the one way that we're supposed to, quote unquote, sleep. I don't go by there's one thing for everyone. There's not. Just like, he's literally shaking. He hates things when they're super hot.
It's so
love
hot
it.
Still. Why do these little cooler things keep it so hot?
Anyways, why people like sleeping on the back is because it can automatically just kind of align you because you're laying down on your back, but that can cause a lot of back tension. So for a lot of people, they need something under their knees to kind of ease that tension of extension if you're not used to that in the back, and to help relax the back, because a lot of people will just naturally start to hold tension when they lay down flat. The other thing with the neck positioning, if you are used to looking at a computer screen all day long, looking at your phone, your head is going into a forward head posture. When you try to then sleep on your back flat, your neck is actually going to go into extension, which is going to throw off your pressure systems and your breathing. And what ends up happening for a lot of people is they end up opening their mouth and snoring.
Yeah, and I've been talking with Jen about this a little bit lately because especially when I'm a little more stressed or just run through the day and I'm not doing my down regulation stuff, we've talked about down regulation before, I tend to just assume this forward head posture. That's pretty classic for working on a computer, working on a phone. And it just automatically makes you want to drop your jaw open, start breathing out of your mouth, which then lets me know I'm breathing a little more out of all my muscles around my neck and my shoulders and my upper chest. And again, if that's kind of the pattern we're breathing with all night long, imagine what that's doing to those muscles, to that positioning of the head, even though it's back down on the, we have a small pillow, we're just letting it tilt back and we're kind of perpetuating those tight muscles that are really going to bite us in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I say, when it comes to lying on your back, how can you find a position that works well for you? Well, let's grab a pillow and let's show it. Okay, so right now we have Dom lying on his back. He is actually really trying to force kind of getting a better position, but when he does that, then it flares the rib cage. And then now, remember, our pressure system comes all the way from our neck, or where our glottis kind of opens and allows the airway to come through, down to the rib cage where we have our respiratory main muscle, which is our diaphragm, everyone knows about, and then all the way down to the pelvic floor. So we kind of need these to be stacked if we want to think about breathing in a position of ease and actually allowing the body to get the airflow that it needs. So for Dom, I would usually then place a pillow underneath his knees to kind of, again, relax the pelvis. So this is automatically going to start to relax the pelvis to kind of drop the rib cage. And then I probably need a bit of a bigger pillow underneath almost his shoulder area. And then what that does is it kind of helps to lift the head, the airway, and naturally his rib cage starts to relax. And when we have this more relaxed breathing pattern where the chest and the belly and the rib cage kind of start to go and flow and ease together. Remember, we don't want it to just be forcing from the belly, but we also don't want to be lifting from the chest. And he wants to be able to be in a position where he can keep his mouth closed pretty comfortably without having to force it closed. And this automatically, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, immediately it relaxes me because as soon as you put the pillow under my knees, it allows me to relax through that low back, because then my anterior portion of my hips and stuff aren't kind of pulling and making me want to arch through that back and then pull the ribs up. And then with the pillow, I think one thing that everyone gets to explore, especially if you sleep with a pillow under your head, is making sure it does go under that upper bit of the shoulders. You mentioned that, but I think that's really important because then it allows from the base of where that neck starts up through the top of the head, you can have that support of that pillow. And so explore with having it just under the head, having it under a little bit of the shoulders. Depending on how you hold yourself during the day, you might need it to be a slightly different place along that kind of continuum.
And some people, when it's underneath the shoulders, if you need a little bit more, take a super thin. So I have a super thin pillow, and then you can place it just at the top of the head, and then even more so.
Even that just helped that tiny little bit. She just put a tiny pillow under the very tip top of my head, and it tucks it just a little bit into a position of more ease. I can just tell my body wants to relax a little bit more.
And that's the whole point of sleep. We're not supposed to be forcing something that is not normal for our body. We want to find those positions of ease. It's going to take tension off the neck, exactly how Dom said. Relax the chest, relax the front of the neck, relax the rib cage, and just allow him to actually breathe.
Absolutely. Side sleeping? All right, so now I have Jen here lying on her side. We're going to manage all of our cords and stuff. And Jen often likes to fall asleep on her side. So we're just going to show you a little bit of what she likes to do. One thing that we'll notice sometimes, we'll start at the head. We'll get you a pillow. If we have a pillow that's way too small, so just lay your head down where it's at now, we're going to have that head kind of sitting down and angling towards the bed, and it's going to be in that position as long as we're laying on our side. And if that's for the whole night, it won't like us. So instead, we put one pillow there, and it kind of helps us keep that spine in what we call neutral. And again, it's not about neutral. It's just not sustaining one extreme position for a long time while we're sleeping. So keeping that head a little bit more in that neutral position. Say this pillow is like doubled up or a really thick pillow, then you can see how her head is kind of pushed away from the table and cocked away, where the neck muscles on the top side would be in that shortened position all night long. So right size pillow for the head. And then the next place we want to look is kind of, so she's centered through that thoracic spine or rib area, because the ribs are resting down on the mat. And then we'll get to the low back, where some people will find they move a little bit. If the bed isn't squishy enough, then they'll sink down into the bed and they'll have this sagging in their side, kind of when they're laying on their side. Or, if it's too squishy and they're really sinking down, it could really push up in that kind of lumbar or low back area. So one thing some people like to do is straighten out that bottom leg a little bit and put a pillow under this knee. What it does when we kind of bend that top leg up is it flattens us a little through the low back, and we go into flexion, and it keeps us in a little more of a stable position in that low back. Some people, especially if it's a big issue, will also put a little pillow kind of right under the side of their back there, but I like this laying on the side better. What do you think?
I love it. The one thing that I will say about laying on the side, so especially with the pillow, Dom did an amazing job of showing it. What people forget is that if you lay straight on your shoulder, then even like a small pillow like this is going to feel like, oh, but it's too low. But that's the thing. You shouldn't be directly on your shoulder. You should actually have your shoulder out just a tiny bit so that you're on your shoulder blade. So you want to be on your shoulder blade to get this shoulder underneath to have a little bit more ease and not be so restricted. And then that's where a smaller pillow, you will notice, actually comes in way better. It's almost like folding a towel and like the height of a towel. That's what you want to think about for your pillow. So it's not high at all. And then with having a body pillow, I mean, this is from Target. Isn't this so lovely? So I can also take my top arm then and hug it. Right? And then I don't have my arm on top dropping down or anything. It's nice and supported. So all the way through from my pelvis all the way up to my shoulder girdle, I'm supported all around, and it feels amazing on my neck, my shoulder, my hips, and my back.
Again, main thing is avoiding sustaining any like extreme end ranges or pressures. So pressure in the shoulder, not good. If the neck's cranked or if the low back is in an awkward position for a long period of time, not good. Okay,
last position that we're going to go over is belly sleeping, because even though it is not usually the most quote unquote ideal, it is still something that people prefer. And if you prefer it, if you get best sleep there, do it. Let's just set you up to win for it. Okay. So here's the thing. We can kind of trick the body to lay on the side by just setting up pillows so that you're not directly on your belly, but you are still supported and feel like you're on your belly. So you can actually take a pillow and kind of put it underneath half of you. And so automatically what this does is it kind of props up his back and it allows his leg to kind of shift out as well. Now, if he needs more of a body pillow to come a little bit lower underneath his hip, he can. If you need a pillow, you can use a pillow, but you don't want it to be stacked very high. So even for this one, you want to make sure that you kind of have it almost coming back behind you, and so your head can kind of fall down. How does that feel there?
It feels great. I mean, the mic, other than the mic jamming into the pillows a little bit, and having earphones on, it feels great. And what I love about having the chest propped up is that, like you said, it's the same thing as lying on the back. When you prop the knees up, it allows me to just rest a little bit more through my low back and not feel like I'm needing to extend through my low back. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge stomach sleeper myself because I do get tight through my low back when I sleep on my stomach, but that's one thing that would help me feel more comfortable in this position of ease on my stomach.
Yeah. And then you can think of the pillows as your partner as well. So if you want to kind of like adjust it to how you would sleep with a partner, you can always do that. Or you can look for the post on Instagram where Dom and I do it together on DocJenFit. Now that's a quick talk through pillows. There's not one specific type of pillow. Like I usually use I think those are Calvin Klein pillows. So nothing special. It's just what kind of firmness that you prefer. And you want to make sure that it's not so fluffy that it's going to push your head up, and it's not too flat that it's going to sink you all the way down. So watching those down pillows, stuff like that, you don't want your head to fall all the way down, depending on the position that you find best for your body.
Yeah, and kind of like Jen said, just as there's no one pillow, there's no one position for everyone. You know, each person's back laying position and side laying position and stomach laying position that's the most comfortable and suited for your body might be slightly different. So it's hard for us to give exactly what would be best for you, other than the advice to explore it a little bit.
Exactly. And listen to your body, because if you're feeling like you're waking up super tight, you obviously don't want to be in a super tight ball. And don't be afraid to use pillows. Like, if you need to get more pillows, invest in pillows. They're worth it. And then mattresses. Everyone asks, what is the best mattress? Again, I don't think there's one type of mattress out there, and it does change depending on what you prefer. Here's what we kind of broadly recommend. There's different brands and things that I found are honestly enjoyable and so great for the body. The kind that I found that works really well for most body types is where you have more of a firm type mattress with a foam top, with a thin foam top on the top. The reason why, when it's more firm, you're not going to sink all the way in it, and it's not going to be, putting your body in crazy positions, but at the same time, you still get a little bit of that foam top, so it provides that comfort, that squish, and it allows it to breathe a little bit more without having the entire thing foam or the entire thing cushion and squishy.
No, I like that. And that's, a really tough thing to do is give a broad recommendation for a mattress, because it's like finding the Goldilocks of all things for the individual person is finding the right mattress. So I like that approach where we have that firmness and then the softness to sink into. And also, with that, when you just think body types, I like something slightly firmer, because if I sink in too much, I have a lot of different tensions and tightnesses in my muscles that when I'm given all of that freedom to move around, it's going to irritate them overnight, and it's going to make things want to be angry at me in the morning.
It does feel better. And then you don't, especially if there's two people in the bed, you don't sink toward each other. Yeah. It's going to support your body. Obviously, you don't want to rock. You don't want to have no give at all. And that's why I like kind of the distinction between the two, where it's a little bit more firm and then you have the separate kind of top. Because then it helps to provide that support, but then still have that comfort. One last little thing when it comes to sleep, because when it comes to snoring, teeth grinding, there's different things that could be happening in terms of you not getting adequate oxygen to your brain and to your body. And one of the ways that we like to recommend kind of getting more oxygen, or your affinity for oxygen, into your bloodstream. We've talked about it a lot. We've had Brian McKenzie on the podcast, and one of the main things that he said, and he goes back to time and time again, is breathe from your nose. And a good way to kind of remind your body to do that is with this
tape. And you see how small the piece is. We're not using a roll of duct tape here.
No. So that's the thing. So we use a piece of kinesio tape. This is rock tape. Okay. And all it's doing is it's not taping your mouth shut. It's giving you a proprioceptive guide to remind your body to keep your mouth closed. But at any given time, you can automatically, if your mouth opens, it will open. It's not anything that's duct taping your mouth closed, and it's not going, you don't put the strip, you put a thin piece of tape on, not horizontal, but vertical. So from top to bottom. And we'll kind of show you here on Dom. And then he can talk into his journey a little bit with teeth grinding. There you go.
Like this.
That's it.
Yeah, try it out. And I think that that's something that's important for me to do. I said, especially earlier, when things are fast paced and you're not getting enough rest, and then you go to sleep and there's all the tension in your day, and you might be sleeping with that forward head position and breathing through your mouth. You can just tell it's almost this negative feedback, where as that happens a little bit, it's just going to keep happening more and more often until you make a conscious shift and change some of those behaviors and do some breath on your own. Because I can just always tell when my body gets into those cycles of not quite getting that recovery. I can tell I don't sleep as well. I probably wake up with a little more neck pain or a little more stiffness, whether it's positioning or breathing or both. Probably both, because usually when I don't breathe as well, I'm waking up more throughout the night. and everything. So I think the breath thing, either while you're sleeping or just doing any breath work in general, again, it's something that Jen and I preach to the end of the world. Becoming conscious of your breath during the day is even going to help you breathe better at night, because again, then you're not going to be living in that cycle all day long and just letting your body stay in it. When you go to bed, you're going to have kind of set the state and then come back around it before going to bed. Maybe even put some of the tape on your mouth and just keep your body in that cycle instead.
Yeah. And if you listen back to the podcast we did on breathwork, and when we interviewed Brian McKenzie, we talk about why nasal breathing is so important. Not only is it going to drop you into that parasympathetic state of rest, relax, digest, but you're also just you're building up your tolerance to CO2. So you're not breathing through your mouth and kind of pushing all that CO2 out of your mouth. You're keeping it more into your body. Any like teeth grinding, TMJ pain, we really recommend paying attention to how you're setting up your pillow, how you're setting up your body, and how you're setting up your breath. So go back to our breath podcast again, and then do the taping, because truly they've done studies now where, you know, they find that teeth grinders are not getting the oxygen that they need. When you're snoring, you're not getting your oxygen that you need to your brain. And so it really begins to be a thing of like, of course you're going to have TMJ pain. Of course you're going to have increased tension up by your neck, because not only do we need to look at positioning and what do we need to massage and release and all this, but you have to look at how you're breathing.
So check some of those positions out, explore with pillows a little bit. If you sleep with a partner, explore with pillows and your partner and find the positions that work best for you. And it can make a world of difference. Again, we sleep a larger portion of our days than we do almost anything else. So make sure that you're using that to optimize the way your body feels during the rest of the day.
And cheers! Thanks for joining us on another PT Pearl on YouTube. I hope you learned some things, you try it out, you teach your friend or your partner, so that we all continue to learn together. And of course, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, leave them below. Don't forget to subscribe. I release YouTube videos, educational, that are quicker, shorter, and very just movement based every week. But we also release our PT Pearl every week, so you can continue learning about these deeper topics in the body.